Okay, I'm now at 7:16 and I'm now calling to order the Sherborn Conservation Commission meeting of April 24th, 2025, held by Zoom technology as permitted by state law. Or I guess so. We'll start with a roll call of who's present. Michael Lesser present. Courtney?
Courtney Eck present.
Matt?
Matt O'Lear present.
Jacob?
Jacob Strauss present.
Okay, we have a quorum. Does anybody have any 24-hour issue, 48-hour issues in terms of what amending the agenda for some reason?
I don't think so.
Okay, good. So doing that, we can move on with the agenda as posted. Let's see, we've got a whole 3 minutes before the before the first hearing starts. I don't think there's a warrant, is there? One.
I don't think so.
Okay, so let me get some here. We got. Okay. Let's see. Kurt is. Kurt, can you say your name and present?
Yeah, Kurt Spiegel present.
Okay, we've got. Okay, so we don't have the a warrant issue. We'll talk about the thing there. Land management's not an issue, they're minutes, but we'll come to that later. There's a certificate of compliance for mass Audubon work. And I talked with Joyce earlier, and she's been on the site there, and she said that everything is looking very good and they did a good job of complying so with the orders of condition. So she recommended that we do this certificate of compliance. So I move that we issue a certificate of compliance for the Mass Audubon DEP file number 283-0392.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Michael, aye. Jacob?
Aye.
Courtney?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Kurt?
Aye.
Okay, taking care of that. Still have, let's see, the administrative approvals that are on the agenda. Just read it for the record that they were all approved as projects outside of jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction for 22 Curve Street, a leaching field, Woodhaven Village Way, a water line in addition to a well house, 35 Nason Hill Road, soil testing, 87 North Main Street for an addition. In our minute or so left, think about the fact that we only have, I guess, a few people are not here. We have to later on today, after the hearings, talk about who we want to be a member from us to join the land acquisition committee. Since the person we had there is no longer, I don't know, I think she represents some other committee maybe. So I don't know whether, Steve and I don't know who is particularly of interest. We don't have to settle it tonight, depending on whether somebody's particularly interested. And they occasionally seem to meet to possibly buy additional open space in town. So I don't know how often they meet. Maybe we have to find out more about it.
So I was given that position after Carol left because nobody else wanted it. And the land acquisition committee meets very rarely. I think they last met in December of last year. And all they do pretty much is advise the select board if any parcels should become available for the town to take action on.
Yeah, and I guess there's a whole bunch of people representing different boards. Well, we'll come back to this because it's 7:21. Now I will first reopen the continued public hearing for 0 Hunting Lane. for Gary Barsky. And the hearing is asked to be continued to May 8th by the applicant. So I move to continue this hearing until May 8th, 2025.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, I. Courtney,
Aye.
Matt,
I,
Jacob,
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now at 7:21, we'll get to the one we have today. Okay, notice is hereby given that the Sherborn Conservation Commission will hold a virtual public hearing using Zoom technology on April 24th, 2025. The request for determination of applicability, or RDA, hearing will be held pursuant to Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws as amended, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sherborn Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 17, to consider a proposal by the applicant, Mark Sheehan, if I get your name right, to extend a deck, install a hot tub, and perform landscape plantings in the wetland buffer zone at 82 Elliott Street, Map 1, Lot 58. This application is available for viewing at the Sherborn Conservation Commission. All persons desiring to be heard will be given an opportunity to speak at this hearing. Okay. We are now there. Hi, I see the two of you there.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. And Joyce, I guess, has done the site walk there. Another
Yeah,
one, she's
she got
coming in. But yeah, I talked to her about it this afternoon after she did the walk there. So she filled me in case she didn't make it here, like she hasn't. So
She had a number of questions for me when she did
yes,
the walk, and I've since reached out to Terrascapes, who drew up the plan, and we've got some answers there.
okay. Well, then we'll come first for the rest of it. I'll take it on myself to share the screen and show the plans.
Sure.
And then people can have questions, and we can go over the questions that she gave you and see where things are. I don't know if people had a chance. I'm going to let me share my screen. Okay. I have two things here side by side, but we'll see. Oh, my screen is going slowly. This is behind the people want the broader. Let's see. Hopefully this is not going to be.
Yeah.
This
So
is. Yeah, go on if you'd like to say something.
the photograph at the right is facing southwest.
Yeah,
So
it looks like it's facing this way, basically. I think maybe a deck. Yeah, I was just going to show the plan itself and then show the pictures. So basically, it's behind the house there, and there are wetlands on
both sides. So
both sides. Let's see.
both the western side, which is what the current picture shows, and the eastern side. And
Right.
eastern side's perhaps more of interest for this particular meeting, because that has questions relevant to the hot tub, like footings for the deck and stuff.
Right, yeah. It's together the whole thing, but so essentially for the commission, there's some BVW on this side here. And there's a vernal pool, very nice vernal pool here, so wetlands over here too. All the activity, the wetlands are not delineated under this RDA because all of the activity is, as you'll see in the photos, is on existing lawn that they're doing. They're not altering any of the they're not, I guess, altering any buffer zone. to these wetlands that hasn't already been altered. Because essentially the whole area here is, I got that straight, am I correct?
Yes.
This is all lawn area, as you'll see around here, and their work is extending the porch here on this side, on where it's also lawn, putting in a fire pit over here, and doing this very nice native planting. I think it's called an oasis somewhere. So that of a lot of nice native plants and fairly dense there. So that's, and to some extent, a part of this area is in a buffer zone. So there'll be improvement to the buffer zone that is probably many more square feet, probably twice as much square feet as the sort of additional. There'll be a little additional, probably, I don't know, a little impervious surface here and a little extension of the deck and some activity here. So that is the overall plan. The where are the arrows here? When I'd be able to go back and forth. Let's this is drag. Let's see. This works. Okay. I guess this is not working so well. That's one picture. It's another picture of the plan. Okay. This is the side of the house to the east where this is where the deck would be with the hot tub, if you can remember that part of the picture there for commissioners. I guess I was going to try to do both at the same time, but and there is BVW down here, but it falls off quite precipitously. So this is where the okay, let's see a better picture. This is where the hot tub area is going to be. And this area out here is where the beginning of that sort of new native planting area is going to come around here. And extend. That's sort of looking at, it's a little harder to give a context there. Now we're looking from the, yeah. This is looking from the hot tub area. There's this sort of berm here for whatever reason. That's where the plantings would be on here. That's the hot tub area where it's going to be extended. Let's see. Okay, so the hot tub area is over here. This is where all the plantings would be around here. You'll see this little birdhouse here. I think that's going to show up in the next picture because this is where the plantings are going to be here. And then let's see. Okay. There's that birdhouse again. That's the vernal pool. And then that's a slide that I was going to be eventually moved out of the buffer zone. And along here is they're gonna, let's see the boulders. Okay, I'll go back to here. Okay, this is that berm. I guess the deck is right around here, back in here. And this is that berm that's going to get planted, and somewhere around here is going to be a fire pit in this lawn area here. And then they're going to line this area with boulders as part of the plant, as part of demarcating the area buffer zone that will no longer be, that won't be altered. Okay, before we get to some questions that you raised to how we're doing it. Okay, so there's the boulders there, and this is that berm area. To me, it seems like a, given all of the plantings here. That while there's some details of how this project's going to be done, that in general, the additions of this thing here seem to be balanced by the addition of all this kind of native planting. Overall, from my point of view. But let me open up to commissioners. Do people have questions?
I had trouble telling from the plans. So how far is the hot tub area from the vernal pool approximately?
Vernal pool's over here.
No,
And
Oh,
the,
okay.
the BVW is over here. It's about, Joyce estimated it was about 75 feet.
okay. Well, yeah, just
Ooh.
roughly, are we talking the 50 to 100 or within the
Yeah,
first?
none of the work, none of this stuff is not, doesn't seem like any new activity in the inner buffer zone, which for us, for the applicant, the 0 to 50 foot area from the
Okay.
wetlands is more important.
So the fire pit is closer to the vernal pool and the BVW is
Right.
on the other side. Okay.
And, oh, Courtney, were you done? Just a clarification question for me, or just to help orient myself. So is the main part of the deck being replaced, and it's just the hot tub, the sort of extension that's new, or is the footprint of the rest of the deck changing also?
No, most of the deck
Exists already.
exists already.
So it's just that addition with the hot tub.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
that's the
got
only thing that's changing.
What's
Okay,
the
thank you.
size of that? That's, what else? 10 by 10 or who knows? That's
Yeah, I think it was like that.
Something around that, yes.
Any other commission questions? Matt or Kurt? I don't know if anybody else had a chance to look at the planting selection. It's not my expertise. I don't know, Courtney, whether you have any comments about this planting selections.
I thought it was like great planting selections and a lot of them.
Oh, we'll pass that on to Emma.
You may need to think about how you're going to keep deer away until things get established. But that's
They come
have
all
seen
the
deer,
time.
yes.
They come all the time anyway.
We see them more often on the northern
Side, yeah.
but that's when we see them. They're not necessarily that they're there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's very visible you're planting, so I guess you'll have to figure out. It'll be a challenge.
I haven't thought of that actually. So
Yeah, I think Emma had some idea of maybe trying to protect it just while it's getting established, and then
Right.
Yeah.
Because
so it'd just be for a season. I think she said something like that.
right, yeah, I would imagine. I don't know. Those are rhododendrons in there or not, I can't tell from all the words here. Okay. Down to the, so I don't know, as a whole, does anybody have any issues with the whole concept? I mean, besides some details about how it's actually going to be implemented, and some finer points. Does anybody have any issues with the project as a whole from the highest level? Hearing none. Let's see. Oops. Where did I have the questions? Okay. These are some notes from Joyce. That I guess you're prepared to address some of them.
okay, so yeah, let's just go from the top. So how will the new deck and hot tub be supported? I don't know what sonotubes are, but I did call the carpenter who would be working on it. They said that there would likely be a Joe specifically mentioned machinery like track machinery. He said there would probably be some machinery there in order to drill the hole for the footings. There would likely be 2 footings with concrete, whatever.
This is a sonotube, so you're basically reproducing that.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah,
Well, that's what's left over after the sonotube rots away. But
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a heavy duty cardboard or whatever cylinder that they stick down there and pour the concrete into.
Yeah, that they recommended that for the deck, probably two of those. For the base of the hot tub would likely be a concrete pour where a skid steer would come in and remove the layer of topsoil, and we would take that away from the site, and then lay down gravel, and then 4 to 6 inches of concrete. So a small amount of machinery involved there, and at your recommendation, we could get. I have a list of things: either straw wattles, a mulch sock, or a silt fence, or just whatever is required to do it right. We can get that put in.
Right, I mean, we would condition it that since you're gonna, more of the heavy duty work is gonna be over here,
Yes.
that there'll be, well, I guess given all the landscaping work that's gonna be done and work over here, that there would be erosion control all around the edge of the lawn. So
Mhm.
that in case of a heavy storm, when soil's disturbed, there's not any erosion.
What
This,
specific thing would you like to see for erosion control?
there's a choice, as she said, of that you can do straw wattles. There's other alternatives. We can make it a condition that the erosion control is in place before the project starts. And you can get approval from Joyce as to what particular form of erosion control that you would want to do.
All right. Let me just take a little.
Straw wattles they had already.
Yeah. That was.
It would be all around the whole project area so that we can protect the wetlands there.
Okay,
Right.
straw bottles around the whole project area, and I should confirm that with Joyce and invite her for a site visit once they're installed.
Yes.
Is that the okay?
That way, the machinery will be, the limit of work will be defined by the straw wattles. So therefore, so therefore the machinery will be, hopefully will be able to, well, I assume the machinery will be able to stay
Yeah. Well,
in the bounds of your lawn over here. Like if it's coming in here, I assume they'll pour this first before they do any deck work. So that they'll be coming here along the side of the house.
Yeah. Emma said that the masons and the landscape planters, they would be doing everything by hand, but for the deck, there would be some machinery involved.
Right. I assume you can bring it, whether they could come in here or they could go around the other side of the house. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a little more space on the other side. But...
Okay, and just come around and do the work here. Okay, and we generally don't want any heavy equipment stored in the buffer zone. They sometimes leave it overnight. You can get leakages and things like that. So that'll be a standard condition.
Okay, so we would move them to say our front yard, front
Right.
yard, at least.
I imagine it's a small enough job. They'll just be there for part of a day anyway. That and in and out. They're not going to want to linger.
So how will the deck supports be installed? So that would be a small machine. How will the hot tub be drained? So yes, it can't be discharged, and we wouldn't want to do that. I called Scott Septic, who had worked on our system, and they said do not drain into the septic system.
Yes.
So we're not going to do that either. I called the hot tub place, mainly tubs, and they said they didn't have a great answer, but what they know some customers have done in the past was that they had either a small pump or a very long hose or a combination thereof to make sure that the drain was way out of the wetland area. Um, unfortunately, I don't have a better plan than that.
Well, we'll condition it as simple as the fact that you can't, and go on the honor system that you can't drain in the buffer zone. Or be
that,
back in it.
but
And I don't think there's much more we can say than that. We'll just hopefully, I don't know if it's going to be chlorinated, but that's something you'd want to,
there was an option of salt or chlorine.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
is salt.
Yeah. But that's my plan basically, is as many hoses in series as is necessary, because the way the property is, we need to go a fair bit that way
Right, yeah, I saw the,
west before the hills point the right way, if that makes sense.
yes, let's see, I guess I'm right,
They recommended to avoid the leach field area as well, which is where things would naturally drain if you
yeah.
just went to the front yard.
Okay, so yeah, you'll have to figure that out. Just don't do it in the backyard buffer zone area.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll have that as a condition. Yeah, how much?
Landscaping would be prepared by hand.
Right.
Erosion control.
Oops, I was gonna go, the erosion control, we're gonna specify that it goes all the way around this area of work.
Okay.
Are you doing much? Is there any fill coming in, or is it much, what's the masonry work? Is there much here other than just putting?
There's just that row of stones. And we emailed Emma. She said usually they are one third buried, such that they don't move or roll around.
Okay.
And they're a little bit in from the edge of the grass,
Right.
such that they would basically be on the grass, not like outside it, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, no, that would be important. Yeah, that's
The
useful.
rest of the masonry is, you see a sort of kind of a stairwell at the top of the plan.
I guess you would, right, I guess this is where you put the rocks in front of the trees, in front of where the
Yes.
edge of, before this is the beginning of the natural buffer.
Yeah.
I gather it would be placed in there. Okay,
And they would be purchased elsewhere and introduced, not scavenged from elsewhere on the.
and appropriately sterilized, I'm only kidding. Well, so they're gonna be buried in the ground, so there's not a lot of masonry work, or there's no fill being brought in, or grading.
No.
Okay. So there's no grading being done on the overall. We're just worried about if, we'll have a condition that if fill is brought in, that it has to be certain specifications of its cleanliness, which you would want anyway.
So yeah, boulders would be by hand, which that must be pretty strong people. But yeah, Emma did say that all of the masonry and planting would be by hand. It's only the hot tub which is machinery. Will there be any fill for the fire pit? No.
Okay. Well, we'll just condition that if you do have it, there's some regulations about what it should be like.
Unfortunately, I didn't ask the question if mulch will be used, but from prior discussions with Emma, I expect that there will be mulch.
Yeah.
Or wood chip. Was it mulch or wood chip?
She hadn't specified, but she did say that, like, as part of establishing the plant, that they would do like some sort of mulch or wood chip kind of layer around the plantings. I don't know what that is.
Okay, what, is that what you expect in the longer term? That all of this area here around the plants, I don't know if any of these are, or any of them at the ground herbaceous layer.
Yeah, this planting plan is like, it's intended that all those things are going to grow together and fill in to make one solid mass of plants based on what they have spec'd out here. And I think Joyce has kind of given a hint of in the notes as to what we're looking for. Composted or leaf mulch would be the best thing to use, and I'm sure this landscaper knows what that is. Leaf mulch.
Yeah, I mean, some people use some of this bark mulch that has chemicals in it, or it's got colors and things like that, that since you're in the buffer zone, we don't want those kind of additives that come in there, which
Leaf mulch is preferred.
yes.
Great.
Okay.
And okay, going back, I think that's, oops. Okay, I think we've gone through the list there.
Okay.
There's going to be some conditioning that we were talking about along the way.
Any
The erosion control, the pre-construction meeting. No equipment in there. The equipment stay. Right.
Install 4 wetland plugs. What does that mean?
Oh, yeah, okay. This is what we do for everybody to remind everybody in the future to know. We have little plaques, or you could put your own, that put little signs that say, I should know by heart by now, that basically say, no disturbance beyond this edge. It's a small little metal thing that's maybe 4 inches by 6 inches that we put on the edge of lawn here, just so that people don't expand the lawn.
Is there a link or something you could send of precisely what to buy there? Or
Sure, we could offer them.
okay, great. So I would go to the town hall and
You go down hall and we'll sell them to you for whatever our cost was. But yeah, we could put them on. Basically, I think we'd suggest maybe putting like maybe one over here, one over there, maybe one somewhere here or there, maybe 4 of them in total that you could even put on the trees. Where you could put them on the boulder here, for example. Although we wouldn't want to get whatever that, oh, that's a wood rack. Because it also helps with people who have landscapers who often dump stuff into the buffer zone when they see the nice unaltered, unlandscaped area. They figure that's just ripe for dumping leaves and grass and things like that. So
Yeah, there was a lot of McDonald's wrappers when we moved in.
and
We had-
toys.
Yeah, we had to go
And-
through, and yeah, it was really gross.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll wonder where that came from.
It wasn't us. It was
Yes. Okay, and then we'll have an inspection at the end, just to make sure everything was done reasonably and in place with all these conditions. There might be a few other conditions there, but if this all makes sense to you, what do other commissioners say? Because I would otherwise move to approve the project with all of the conditions. Does people have any other thoughts and conditions or issues?
Nope, I agree.
Looks reasonable to me.
Yeah, very reasonable.
Okay. Okay then. I move to approve this project with the changes and issues as discussed and the conditions as discussed during this hearing. And it will be approved as we'll call the -3 with conditions. Negative meaning that it's not going to harm the wetlands. So it's an approval to move forward if all of these conditions are followed. That the wetlands will not be altered or disturbed in any way.
Okay. May we have a copy of this document?
Oh, you will get it. Oh, you will certainly get a copy of the document. Without it, you will get in the mail a formal document that we've all signed, really, that has all of the conditions and issues there. So that, and so there's an appeal period. Somebody could appeal this for 10 days or something like that, but we'll get you something in the next week or so.
Thank you.
And go from there.
Did anyone second it?
No.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Michael, I, Jacob,
Aye.
Matt,
I,
Courtney,
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
did I forget somebody? Okay. Okay, done. You'll get this in the mail, when you'll talk to Joyce about any questions or whatever else. And, looks like, I hope the Oasis comes to, fruit.
That's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thanks very much.
Okay, fine. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting
Thank
you too. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, moving on here. Let's see. The Land Acquisition Committee appointment. I don't know if anybody here, we can move it off to the next meeting. Just to see what Kurt, or I mean, not Kurt, what Steve or Terry think, unless somebody here is particularly interested in this position.
I nominate Steve.
Okay, there we go. That's the spirit.
I like the way you function.
Usually it's just a threat to nominate the people who don't attend to everything.
Are you talking to Steve now, wherever he is in the world? He texted you. Okay, I guess we're gonna put this on the next agenda.
Yep.
The, when everybody's here, and we could sort this out. I don't know, I can't tell whether we could also have somebody else who's not a commissioner. Can we have somebody who's not a commissioner be our member on the, land acquisition? Is that something we could do, Courtney?
Maybe.
We can see if somebody in the land management group. But let's see what the others think. Okay, so that's the end of that topic there. There's no land management. There's no warrant. The last item is the Town Forest Invasive Management Program.
And there's a set of minutes to approve, right?
Oh, yes, right. Thank you. I do not want to forget that.
Oh boy, minutes.
Yes. We need to get these minutes done since this is the one. Let's see. On the invasives. Oops. I don't know if people, let's see. So essentially, this is the $15,000 proposal to do their first round of herbicide application in sort of two different modes. They seem to be doing a foliar application in the big open field for those who went there that is outside of our jurisdiction. And then for dealing with this intense buckthorn, I guess shrubbery, it's after they cut it all, it's just a dense coppicing of buckthorn, that they would do a cut and dab anything that's in the buffer zone of this Garland 3A. This is a tricloper active ingredient. This would be an experiment for us because we haven't allowed herbicides in the buffer zone for the most part. I don't know if there's any examples. I'm okay. I guess I'll start and say, I mean, the Garland is not such, I mean, it's the literature is a little ambiguous. They both call it dangerous and hazardous. At the same time, there's not a lot of evidence that it has significant impacts on humans and animals and except above some fairly high levels, which are beyond what's going to be applied here. And I would say that I would, and whether it moves in the soil into groundwater depends a lot on the soils and how moist it is, to the extent that the soils are moist. And it's almost like you'd want them to apply it after there's been some rains. The microbial action on the active ingredient is much more rapid and a much shorter half-life than it could be. Much longer if it's dry soils, and it just sort of gradually moves through. So I would like to see that this is going to be, they're going to have to do 2 rounds. And so this is the first one here. I'm going to say that I would like that this we've already approved essentially, but I wouldn't want to go forward unless they're doing the second round, and that they do testing in both the water in the wetlands, as well as do some soil sampling in the buffer zone to see to what extent the herbicide migrates. And we'll find out the cost of that, and hopefully they'll put it in there, or to some extent we might have to pay for some of the cost. But to me, that's the most important thing, is to figure out, to learn whether this stuff, see whether it works. And we'll have to do a series of tests. You might have to do a test after the second round, but or even could do a test now just to even see a baseline, depending on the cost.
Michael, are you thinking of when would you want to do that, in relation to the application, sort of like soon after, or a few half-lives later?
I don't know, I'd have to think about it, but I just want to just make the point. I think that I think it would be probably about 30 days. Like they use like a half-life average of about 30 days, but it's really like 700 to 300 days, depending on conditions. When you read some of the literature, I put in a couple of other documents in the meeting folder that was some very impressively detailed work that were done by other states that were considering doing that, that have decided to use the Garland. And because some Garland is a form of Garland. This is a Garland's trichlopyr salt that's used on land as an ester that's used in water. They actually apply it to deal with some nasty plants in ponds. But whatever. So so I'm not changing anything here, but next time it comes around, or maybe we might want to do it on our own, depending on. They said that they had funding for a second thing, because I don't like the idea of doing a one-shot thing like this, and then they somehow don't get funding or follow up to carry it through, and then we've basically, I don't know. I mean, but they see that it's a half-hearted attempt, but they seem very committed to make this place revegetated with some natural plantings and other forests. So therefore I'm relying on their strong desire to turn this area around. So that's just my, I mean, it's a lot of money, but the state, I guess, is paying for this. I find it fairly expensive procedure altogether, but especially if they're gonna have to repeat this, albeit maybe at a lower cost. But this is something that the town forest wants to try. Any other comments? I guess hearing none. I've said my piece, and we'll follow up on making sure that see how this goes, and we'll do some testing. And depending on the cost, whether we do the testing before they do it or as well as after. But maybe just most likely afterwards. And I'd be willing to pay it out of some of our funds if necessary, to get it done in a timely manner. Did anybody have any trouble with our bearing the cost of some testing, if that's what it takes? Okay.
Depends how expensive it is.
All right.
Fair enough.
We'll find out. I'll get Deb to go to go call up a few places and see what it takes. In this case, it's maybe not so there because we know exactly which chemicals you want to test for. Biggest problem is when you just want to do a more broad-based pesticide or herbicide thing, you can't. That gets very expensive, but here we have just two forms of the tricloper that has to get tested for. Okie doke. We'll pursue that and we'll see how this experiment goes. Minutes. Let's see. Okay. Here are draft minutes. Is this large enough for people? Hello?
Yes. Yeah, I read through it before. I didn't have any comments.
Do others need to, Kurt and Matt and Courtney? Let's see, I'm skipping through this easy stuff in the beginning. I have a question or two about Courtney's RDA. But
I can't help with that because I wasn't there.
no, you'll see that you can, or Joyce can go fill it in later. Let me know if anybody's reading this and when I should scroll down.
I'm reading it on my own screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Courtney, what's
Oh,
the
you
size?
want the dimensions? It's 4x6.
Yes. Wanted to be very clear that it's not very. And then I thought you also included in your application that you were going to do some additional native plantings along the driveway? Is
Yeah.
that- Okay. Fine. So is anybody reading my screen?
You're good if you need to scroll.
Tell me when I can scroll down.
Looks fine to me.
Yep.
Let me know.
Okay.
Yep. I don't have any changes.
Okay. I move that we, oops. I move that we approve the minutes as edited for March 27th, 2025.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, I. Jacob,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Okay. I think we have, just looking over the agenda. Okay. We've done it all. Okay,
Wow.
next meeting will be a bit of work, because we have a lot of new notices of
Mm.
NOIs, and so be prepared for that one, because we have, how many? We're gonna have at least 3. I'm just pulling up a draft of it even there. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new hearings opening. 3 notices of intent and 2 RDAs. Plus we have some continued hearings. So got a full load. You're gonna get 2 things. So there's 2 forms to sign outside town hall from tonight's meeting, the certificate of compliance and the RDA. And then you're gonna get a doodle for site visits to go see some of the projects that we're gonna have at our next meeting of May 8th.
That one's already arrived.
What's that?
The past tense for the doodle request arriving.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's already sent.
Monday at 8, right?
Oh,
There's an addition. There's a second one after that. That's asking about
yeah, there's one there's something, right.
3 or 4 visits in a row.
Yeah, there's one on Monday at 8 a.m., but they'll also maybe we'll piggyback on top of that one. How many people are going to that one?
I have every intention to right now. I mean, my life changes very quickly. So doodling doesn't really always work for me, but if you schedule them and I can go, I'll go. But as of right now, I'm in.
Okay, I don't know how many others, because we could maybe try to piggyback, go to another site after that.
Someone said,
Oh, Terry couldn't go beyond
Terry was only good until 9 or something like that.
8:30.
Or 8:30 maybe.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we'll see what we'll see how the doodle goes for a bunch of them. Some of them we don't have to go. Some will be a little tricky that we'd want to see there, and some might have already gone to. One of them is 34 Brush Hill Road, which is that 40B project up on Brush Hill Road with the now that's been reduced to 4, I guess 2 sort of townhouse kind of things with 4 units altogether. And so, but some people might have been there, but we'll see how complicated some of these things are, because Joyce hasn't actually reviewed all the notices of intent to see how complicated and whether a site visit is particularly important. Okay, I guess I misquoted Brush Hill. It's 4 single-family homes. Okie doke. Anybody have anything else before I adjourn? We adjourn. Okay, I move to adjourn at 8:10.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, I. Jacob,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
All right, good work.